story pops up again every few years. The names will change and location will be different, but it'll be the same basic story. There'll be someone dies, and the person was a high school janitor, or they'd worked as a clerk in a grocery store, or maybe in a factory, or whatever. But they die, and everyone just assumes they don't have much because their house doesn't look that good, and they drive a junker of an old car, and it turns out they were rich. They've been hoarding hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars all these years while they drove that junk car and lived in that junk house and slept on that junk bed and ate those junk meals and frankly lived like they were poor even though they were rich. I'm reminded of those people when I read Galatians 4:1 where Paul says, what I'm saying is that as long as an heir is underage, he is no different from a slave, although he owns the whole estate. And it's one thing to live as a slave when you're a slave. It's another thing to live as a slave when you're not. And some people seem to choose to live in poverty even though they're rich. And I'm afraid that's way too true of us a lot. But for us, it's not about money. It's about God's grace and God's love. We choose to live as if God hasn't poured his grace out on us massively. If God's grace wasn't the key to our good living, if God's love wasn't unbounded toward us, we tend to live as if God doesn't love us at all, maybe, or just barely, and maybe we think we need to earn that love, and we stress and we push and we do our best to make it so we think we're living well enough for God to love us, when we don't need to earn any more of God's love. We can go ahead and start spending it. We can start living a life that is full of his love, aware of his love, wallowing in God's love. Because God doesn't want us to be spiritually poor or to live spiritually poor when he's already made us spiritually rich. And that's today's Jumpstart.